And former Secretary, Ministry of Agriculture, joins us on the show. He's also co-promoter of Arcus Policy Research. Madhavan Narayanan, a senior journalist, also with us on the show. Welcome to both of you, and thank you so much for speaking with us. Siraj sir, I will come to you first because, as a follow-up, we've been talking about the possibility of this for the last few weeks on the show. And if I recall correctly, you had said that you doubt there will be an extension. There is no need for an extension. But sometimes there are decisions which could also be political, don't you think so?
Yes, Tamanna, I feel sorry for myself. After serving the government for 37 years, I still get it wrong. So I thought that the discussion about revenues will make the government serious, but I think I was very wrong. I do not see any real justification for extending it for another 3 months, and the reasons are very clear. We have seen several media reports have shown that in many states, the beneficiaries are not actually using these food grains for household consumption, and they seem to be selling it in the market. My small sample survey of 20 people in UP shows that at least partly they have been selling these food grains in the open market. So I do not see any economic logic in this decision. But of course, elections in Himachal Pradesh and Gujarat are very near. So maybe it is due to that.
We don't know. What the government has said is that the festive season is round the corner. My question, Madhavan, is simply this. There can be an argument, and perhaps there is, that a significant portion of the population does actually still require this free ration. I mean, the global economy is going through turmoil, and perhaps there is a need to cushion the most vulnerable in our society. But can we have that situation even as we claim that the Indian economy is faring better than others and we're recovering? Isn't it either or? Either we're doing well enough to be, dependent, or we're doing so badly that you need to continue this crisis scheme.
Tamanna, I'm sorry, but I'm going to. Usually, I am here on your show telling people that whatever the government is doing is political. And I don't think what is being done now is not political, but let us take our camera a little back and take a wide angle on this. Not just look at the world, because I still believe we are a developing economy in spite of being an emerging economy, meaning there are, as recent as 2 or 3 years ago, in spite of the great statistics, around 10% people at least were in extreme poverty. So let us be not losing sight of that. The other thing, of course, COVID has made everything difficult for us. And there is also the follow through of the, effect where the cascading effect of the pent up unemployment figures, which are pretty high, would have it. Now let's take the camera a little further up. We've been discussing universal basic income as an idea. India is at least matured enough to discuss universal basic income as an idea. And therefore, in this context, an extension of a food grain scheme by a mere 3 months to me is simply not a case of freebies. You may call it political, keeping in mind Himachal Pradesh and Gujarat. I completely agree with Siraj Hussain on that. But I think it is what I call good politics for 2 reasons, or 3, I would say. First is that even if these food grains are being resold in the market, I am a great believer in the economic concept of the substitution effect. So if at all, if they sell it and it generates purchasing power, in turn, it gets spent in the economy. Given that our economic growth is not as high and we've lost nearly a decade of economic growth, I don't think really it's a big deal. The other thing which I want to point out is that food inflation is very high in India. It was 7% as of last month. And it's my simple belief that although the GDP, whenever GDP growth takes place in India, the poor get a lower share of the increase. There is we are such a bad economic culture that we are not even measuring the Gini coefficient, which should actually measure the inequalities in society. So in this kind of a scenario, it is always good to err on the side of safety. And erring on the side of safety usually means that whatever happens to competition and economic forces from the market point of
But
view, the
no,
poorest of the poor have to be saved, and it's better to
absolutely,
err on the
Madhavan.
side.
I think the point is the double speak. It's not just an extension for 3 months. It's the 7th extension of this scheme, which began at a time of crisis in a specific situation, being given
Yeah.
by a government who's taken a clear position in the Supreme Court against the politics of freebies.
Absolutely. But let me put it this way, or let me quote a Hindi expression, kahin pe nigahein, kahin pe nishana. See, the point is, I'm thoroughly enjoying the latest round of Mr. Modi's economics or Modinomics, as you might. It's increasingly beginning to resemble Indira Gandhi of the 1970s, which is strange if you ask me, because ideologically, the Modi government is a no-nonsense, fiscal conservative, pro-market kind of economics in which people have to work hard to go up in life. Everybody gets an opportunity, like sabka haath, sabka saath, sabka vikas, but there are no freebies, no free lunches. This is Modi's official ideology. But he also knows well, and this is what I find amusing as well as fascinating, that there is nobody who can escape welfarism in India. In economics, there's a saying, we are all Keynesians now. So we are all welfarists now. And whether you do it reluctantly, as Mr. Modi is doing, while trying to grab the mind share as a freebies baiter, he knows that when it comes to the crunch, when it comes to the polling booths, there's no way you can mess, especially with the poorest of the poor. But the minor point here is that the moral argument, unlike many of Mr. Modi's other controversial steps, such as demonetization or GST on some of the essential consumption goods, this one carries much more moral weight, but
Okay.
it shows. Yeah,
No,
but let's
so
not
1 minute.
bring.
I want to get
No,
Mr.
one
Siraj
small
Hussain on
point,
this.
one small point, Tamanna. I want to contrast it with the other cabinet decision today, which talks about spending 10,000 crore rupees on refurbishing 3 railway stations, Delhi, Mumbai, and believe it or not, Ahmedabad. So it is it's clear as day that there's so much money going into something like a railway station. Let the poor sell some of their grains. Yeah, what's the big deal?
And also, they've also increased DA. They've also
Yeah,
increased DA.
absolutely.
So let's
It's
put that into
populism all the
perspective.
way. Mr.
Let's put
Modi
that into
doesn't walk his
perspective.
talk.
1 minute, Siraj Hussain. Let's put that into perspective. We're refurbishing railway stations. There's going to be, the extension of DA. So let the poor sell some grains. And perhaps we are not recognizing the kind of income equality which has widened, where maybe the poor need this. Maybe the poor need that cushion, especially at a time of very high inflation and food inflation.
See, Tamanna, the point is that at the current situation, when we are not very sure about the size of the rice crop, and we have already seen a deficit in the wheat crop, I would have advised the government to keep the stock till we have a better handle on the fate of the Rabi crop, the coming Rabi crop. So as far as the stocks are concerned, my own sense is that we should have tried to conserve these stocks at this point of time. Now, of course, the poor need support. So this takes us to another point. Despite all these claims of DBT and things, the government does not have a database of the poor people who could be given money directly. So we have seen that PM Kisan is a very successful scheme where the landholders are getting 6,000 rupees directly into their bank account. A similar thing is not possible because the government has not made any significant effort to make a database of poor people who could be given money directly. So it is a very roundabout way of helping people, that you give them more grains than they require, 10 kg per month. According to National Institute of Nutrition, the average is 10 kg. So the government has been giving 5 kg per month, 50% of that. So it's a very roundabout way of helping people, that we are giving you extra grains, you can sell it off and make some money.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when we're claiming to have cut the middleman and include DBT as a way of reaching those who actually need it. Interesting discussion. Unfortunately, I'll have to wrap up because I'm out of time. But I think we've covered the core of this debate, and especially what is the message being given. That yes, cut out this culture of freebies and populism, but there can always be exceptions. Thank you so much, Mr. Narayanan and Mr. Hussain, for joining us this evening on the show. We'll take a very short break, but a lot more coming up on the other side. Stay tuned.